Umunnam na munnam, ndebai ndewonu. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us for this very necessary information session. My name is Jane Ngozi Iwunze, also known as Onyenkuzi Ngozi, which is just my slogan. Onyenkuzi meaning teacher, slogan for the online Igbo learning language classes that I run. So yes, and we have some of our students on board online today, which is really cool. Thank you guys for joining. But yeah, tonight the main purpose of this webinar is to provide insight and information regarding Nigeria's current state to both Nigerians and non-Nigerians, living adults and young people alike living in diaspora, for those of us who may not be fully aware of or knowledgeable about the whole situation. The goal is to create awareness while highlighting different perspectives central to the movement. And essentially, ultimately, we want to sort of end with what it is we can do from where we are about the situation. So just by way of housekeeping, doesn't really need to be said, but just a reminder that it is a peaceful, respectful forum and environment. If we can all stay muted unless we are speaking, there will be opportunities for questions where I will indicate opportunity for questions. And I would like to emphasize on asking questions because essentially this information session is for us to find out as much as we can. And our guest speakers are quite knowledgeable and well-informed, and it's a great opportunity to ask and any type of question and receive an answer or a direction towards the answer at least. It will be helpful if you can type your questions in the chat box, that would be great. And then I'll read them out just to make directing the questions easier. So please feel free to make use of the chat function for questions. And yeah, so just by way of outline of what today's session will look like, it will start off with, so we have our 4 guest speakers. We'll be looking at different perspectives of the current situation. The first, Mr. Luke Iwunze will talk about historical perspectives. We have Zimi Louis Ebuchiem. He will also talk about coming from a youth perspective in Nigeria. Then we'll have time for questions. And then Mr. Casey Okoli will talk about social and business perspective of this Endsars movement and the greater problem. And also our final guest speaker, she's yet to join us, but Mrs. Chinwe Obe will talk about legal and future perspectives. And then we'll take questions at the end after those two. But just before we start, I'd like to conduct a poll. So if you are able to, hopefully you're around your devices, just to gauge where we are all at, where we're coming from. So I'll launch the poll, just 4 questions, if you don't mind answering, just to give us a rough idea. So I think you should be able to see the questions on the poll now. And we can all participate, including guest speakers, can participate as well. Cool. Thank you, everyone. So just roughly, we have 100%, so we're all of Nigerian descent, which is great. 73% of us did not grow up or spend significant amount of time or years living in Nigeria. Only 45% have been back in the last 5 years. So 55% have not. And prior to 2020, 55% of us were not, all, myself included actually, were not aware of SARS police or anything called SARS. So that's especially just for our guest speakers to sort of gauge, to give you an idea of our audience. But yeah, it's very interesting. Awesome. So without further ado, we will now hear from our first speaker, Mr. Luke Iwunze. So if you can give us a brief introduction about yourself for those that may not know you, and then yeah, and then we'll go from there.
Hello, everyone. Onye nkuzi Ngozi Ndalu.
Thank you.
Amazingly, this is just one of those great initiatives. Onye nkuzi Ngozi, you are living your name. I'm so excited, and I really welcome everyone that is on this platform tonight. The initiative to look at, it's really interesting what you've just done by taking that poll to indicate where things are at. And you know, really amazed how much of our participants on the platform here that have not really been in Nigeria, which makes this webinar or event very, very special, because you cannot answer in Nigerian and you have no idea what is happening in Nigeria. As you have heard, my name is Luke Iwunze, and I happen to be dad to Jen. And that's one of my title. And yeah, I'm pretty much involved as a missionary, but also working here in Australia. But I've carried quite a few portfolios in terms of leading the Igbo associations, both in New Zealand and here in Australia. And I'm also vice president of what we know as the Global Igbo Alliance, which comprises many Igbos in diaspora in different nations. And even here in Asia Pacific, we also have another body that coordinates. And the whole idea is to look at the situation that we find ourselves in. Yeah, so I'm very much involved, and it looks like Jen is putting on a very beautiful hat in moving forward the whole idea about our people. SARS, my part tonight is to look at the historical perspectives, a brief history of Nigeria. I'm one of those that are born or were born in Nigeria, lived most of my life there before venturing out into the, overseas. I was born, I was about 10 years during the Nigerian Civil War that really devastated the nation. And Nigeria is a great nation, as you are aware. It's got a great population. It's got almost 200 million people in Nigeria alone. Nigeria has over 250 ethnic groups or dialects, but among it, there are three major ethnic groups that are predominantly in most of the political dealings there. We have the Igbos, the Hausas, and the Yorubas. And the makeup of Nigeria, Nigeria was constituted as a nation in 1914. That name you hear, Nigeria, actually was given to us by the British. It was not Nigerians that chose, which makes it really interesting, especially you young ones. There are two words that made up that name, Nigeria. It's nigger area. That's what it simply means. And I'm sure you will be surprised to hear that. And that word, nigger, in the way the world know it today, is not a really good one. But anyway, that has been the case. Nigeria was amalgamated in 1914, and prior to then, the nationalities that make up Nigeria are all nations. In the eastern part, in the western part, in the northern part, every part of Nigeria is autonomous. They are nations, they live and they do everything on their own. Before the colonizers, the British came and put the whole together and call it Nigeria. I think that is the genesis of our problem, because things have not really worked out. And you hear so much issues. And I've just talked about the civil war that lasted 3 years from 1967 through to 1970. And the war ended. The reason was the Eastern Nigeria wanted to secede and become a nation of their own, become what they were before the amalgamation. But it was forcefully, the military fought and defeated the Biafran soldiers, and they brought the Eastern region back again into Nigeria. And then we have a constitution which we've been running, and the constitution is pretty much put together by the military. There has never really been a kind of referendum or the people sitting together and deciding, how do we become one? How do we be a nation? Things like that has not really happened. And that's why there has been a lot of issues. So briefly, Nigeria was the making of the British, and that brought all the ethnic nationalities and make them one. Actually, none of those ethnic nationalities were part of the decision. And after that, after independence in 1960, things really get worse. Each of the three major areas were suspicious of each other. And the northern part of Nigeria is predominantly Islam. And but as we see things unfold, it's like there is an agenda to Islamize the whole country, and that is the backbone of the whole problem that has been going on there. And here we have run democracy, but the democracy is in name, is not in practice, because Nigeria, having been ruled by the military for over 30 years of our 50 of independence, you can see why things are not really working there. So we have a lot of issues. We have more people, especially from the eastern region, who are in diaspora than any other. There's no part of the world you will go and you don't see an Igbo man. Yeah, and a lot of them are not just there because they just love to be overseas. It's because of the situation back home. Yeah, the Civil War came and go, but the issue that led to the Civil War has not abated, has not changed at all. And that's why things are getting worse and worse. As you can see, the aim of this forum tonight is about the Endsars. And the Endsars demonstration that started early in October, straight after the 68th independence of Nigeria. In itself, the Endsars, which was targeted towards police brutality, was just, you know, when you're boiling water, you start from cold, and when it gets to the boiling point, then the steam begins to let out, and you start to see steams, you know, going up, because at that point you cannot stop it. So SARS was just a small, I think the youth and the people of Nigeria have come to a stage where they cannot tolerate anymore. So they use the SARS, which simply means to end the police brutality, which has been going on for a very long time, but they are using it to address so many things in Nigeria. And the way it was handled, the way the government stepped in, and all of a sudden, what started as a peaceful demonstration becomes a massacre, where lots of people lost their life, even though the government there is still denying that that didn't happen. I guess I can stop here, and probably I can take it a bit longer so I can allow other guests to speak. And also questions will be welcomed. Thank you, Onye Nkuzi.
Thank you, Mr. Luke Iwunze. Yeah, so just off the back of that, SARS, I was supposed to just give a brief summary before, actually. So SARS stands for Special Anti-Robbery Squad. And the original purpose of SARS police was to control and eradicate things like kidnappings and armed robberies, fraud, and cultism. And unfortunately, the very thing that they're supposed to protect against is what, you know, they become a part of, essentially, which is quite sad. It was formed in 1999, and it was actually out of there was supposed to be a resolution for conflict that took place between military and police. So SARS was supposed to fix that, but it's funny because the fact that there's conflict between military and police, and so like what Mr. Luke Iwunze was saying, the underpinning issue goes back to, you know, to colonization. Problems has always caused where is always caused where the foundation is not exactly correct. So an effort to fix a problem, SARS is created, and that creation itself is another issue down the track. So yeah, thank you. I will probably come back to you, Mr. Iwunze, but let's hear now from Zimi. Zimi is actually in Enugu, in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a morning for you there. Tell us a bit about yourself, and also what you do, and then also what life is like for you living in Nigeria now as a youth, as a young person.
Okay, they were due to my friends. I'm Abum Zimi Dabelo Louis Ebuchim. I'm a cousin to Jane. Well, I'm also an engineer. I'm an automobile engineer, and aside that, I do programming. I run a few. I'm a software programmer and a musician as well. So I feel honored. I feel honored, kind of honored to be given to be on this particular webinar to discuss this issue at hand, because over time, let me just say, over time, it's not really been so smooth for the youths. We as a youth in Nigeria, it's not really been a smooth ordeal for us, given the level of corruption. Quite all right, I know there's corruption in every country, but the level of that in this particular country is something not at all to write home about. So, but then I'll first like to start by explaining how it is for us and how it was for us first of all. Then I'll get to how it is for us right now. It's not really been, well, I would say SARS was a body that was originally created to combat robbery, okay, robbery and kidnapping cases and stuff like that. They never really had that power, all right, that power that they started exerting of recent to rough handle we the citizens, we the youths, because anyhow you get to look at it, anyhow you get to think of it, we the youths are the ones who have always been in the front line of the whole exertion of brutality so far. So at first they were made to fight robbery, but then it turned out that they were the robbers. Because I have a few experiences myself. So I know so many people have experience, but I have a few experiences myself. Sometime in 2017, when I was in Lagos, I was into networking. I was there on a business trip. So one of the days I had to go to the airport. I was going to meet one of my business partners at the airport, and then I had dreads. I had dreadlocks on and stuff. So they saw me, and they actually thought they are, you know the normal notion with them when they see youths who look sophisticated. Probably they see you carrying a big phone, they see you on dreadlocks, they see you looking too neat and stuff like that. They just assume that you are into crime. They assume the popular word they use is that you are a Yahoo boy, something like that. So they saw me, they stopped me, they had to interview me. They started more or less what I thought was an interview turned out to be a query, like a violent query. All right. So they asked for my phone. I gave them my phone. They told me to unlock it. I said I couldn't do so because, come to think of it, they don't have the rights to go through my phone. I mean, it's not supposed to be a normal thing for them to get to snoop around my phone without having a legal case on me. Let's say I committed an offense or something. So I did nothing. I was just walking on the road, and it's just like you just see a random folk. You just ask the person to unlock his private property. I mean, I was like, this is my private property. I cannot unlock this for you guys to access whatever you want to. But then they had to use force. They had to use force on me. I unlocked the phone. They went through my phone. They didn't see anything. But then they then pointed to my hair. They were like, that I look like, to get the point, because the whole brutality wasn't, I mean, it all started from oppression before it became brutality, because they had right before now, they had been intimidating those of us who they actually think they could intimidate. Okay, so I eventually had to unlock the phone. They went through the phone, they couldn't see anything. They then pinned it down to my hair, that I had the hair and the looks of a Yahoo boy. And at gunpoint, I was taken to a bank. I had to cash out what I had in my account, and I had to give them all. That day, I lost about 180,000 naira to them at gunpoint in Lagos. This was happening at Ikeja, towards the roundabout at Ikeja. So it happened then. I was in pain. I was bitter over everything. But then I couldn't do anything because, I mean, you know the whole thing. I mean, when you try to like react, you could probably get shot and then get blamed that you are an armed robber, or you are like whatever, and then no one will question them for that because they were actually licensed to carry guns, but and they were licensed to kill actually. So initially it wasn't like that. Initially they were just a body. They weren't ever given that authority to like carry out those brutal things. But then along the line, we got to find out that most of them were ex-cons. Some of these people who work in these offices, these SARS offices, most of them happen to be ex-convicts, people who were actually indicted for a crime, one crime or the other, but somehow got free, somehow got liberated from the prison or from the cell or wherever it is they were, and then they were given the office, the opportunity to like fight against crime through the SAS body. All right, it's just like we have with Boko Haram now. We have right now in the country, we have some Boko Haram people who they say we are repented, and the government pays them on salary. They're paying them more than 150,000 naira, whereas most civil workers aren't even earning close to half of that a month. But these are people. These are corrupt beings. These are robbers. These are people who actually are a problem to the society, but they are given the chance by the government. They're given the chance by the government to perpetrate more evil because they are some stupid person out there just decides to put them in a kind of position that's more or less intimidating to the rest of us who are below, who are just normal citizens, right? So I lost that amount that day, and it happened just like that. I cried over it. I reported the issue to a police station as well. But come to think of it, these are still partners in crime. They did nothing about it, and I lived with the pain of that till this year. So we all are aware of the whole thing that happened, the whole protest, the whole protest that occurred this recent time, including the shooting at Lekki Tollgate and everything. So it was really something disastrous. It's something that we the youth would never forget, because everything that happened there was orchestrated by the government, and there is proof right now that everything was orchestrated by the government. All right, so we have these people sponsored and given full support from the government to perpetrate these evils, and it's just not. I mean, it's really appalling, because these are people who are actually supposed to defend our cause. We the youths. I mean, come to think of it, I can tell you right now that more than 80% of Nigerian youths are very, very super creative. Like we all have a thing or two that we get to like do on our own selves, by our own selves, to yield income, to achieve a particular, you get. So the thing there is most of us are graduates. All right, most of us are graduates. We finish school, we check it, most of us don't have jobs. We don't even have jobs, we don't have anything. So everyone has to, like, you can't think of it, that's enough reason for one to get more creative, to like find a way to make ends meet in the country and stuff. So it's not funny. I mean, I can tell you that if you have to like interview 80% of the youths in Nigeria right now, many of them, if they are given a gun, if they're actually given a gun and given that authority to kill, they will want to wipe out this current regime, this current people in authority, and try to replace them with new sets of people, because it's really been a disappointment. The whole thing has been a disappointment so far, and we are not pleased about everything. But then what can we do? We can't do anything. The only thing we tried to do was protest. That was the one thing we tried to do, which was sabotaged by still the government as well. Now everyone is crying out. Everyone is crying out because we are hoping that there are rumors that the UN, we are going to like intervene in the whole situation if they found proof that the massacre at the Lekki Tollgate actually occurred, because the government denied that, not that there was ever any killing at the tollgate. That alone that alone has caused more anger, more hatred in the hearts of the youths. Right? That alone has caused more hatred in the hearts of the youths for the government, for these people. Right? I mean, most people. I lost a friend. I lost a friend to the to this protest, this recent protest that occurred. He was hit by a stray bullet, just like that, and he's been buried anyway. But I mean, the pain you could imagine how many other people lost family members, lost friends, lost brothers, lost sisters. It's a painful thing for every one of us youths in the country. I mean, it would have been a different ballgame if the government actually had had a thing or two like they used to like support our cause, but they do nothing, absolutely nothing. We are left on our own. All right. Sometimes we had the president go on live TV, international TV, and tell the world that we are lazy, we are the lazy youths. Don't think of that. I mean, it's really disrespectful. If you check, it's quite disrespectful and really, really disappointing, because I know how much we the youths, I know how much creativity, I know how much things we have. Most things that we achieve in this country, I know it's done by the youths. Most of the international fame we have right now in this country is done. We actually created by the youths. Check the entertainment industry, check the music industry, check the movie industry, and all. It's all run and managed by the youths. Like, I mean, international bodies get to know us because of the hard work and the diligence of the youths. So it's disappointing. It's rather disappointing to get to have the government, all right, get the government who's actually supposed to favor our cause, all right, fight for us and help us achieve a proper serene for good leadership and for productivity, right? But then they get to fight against it. It's very, very disappointing. It's very, very disappointing. And it's what's more disappointing about the whole thing is we don't even know how, what it's going to be in the next minute, the next hour, because you all are quite aware that Nigeria is full of surprises. Anything can they could just come up anytime, give us one random speech, tell us one random thing, set up one random law, and then they make it so compulsory that even when it's against the livelihood of people, of the society, they just tend to like perpetrate these laws or so those random negative instructions, all right, because they actually have that power. It's disappointing for everyone, and I know it's not just for the youths, quite all right, because I mean, come to think of it, people who died, those children who died, the people who died were actually children of people. These are children of people, and you don't expect they themselves to be happy because they are not. I mean, say they are not youth, so it doesn't affect. It affects everyone. So everyone in the country is quite disappointed and not happy about the whole thing. And we seriously and diligently long for a change. We want a change. We really, really want a change, but we know we can't get that change if we give up. We know we can't get that change if we give up. So the youths are actually planning another protest. But this time around, we believe it's going to be way, way more effective than the last one. All right, way more effective than the last one, because we have some people in power who actually are in support of the youths. Some of them want to like sponsor the movement, all right, by also giving, obviously there are some youths that actually carry the whole situation on their heads. Like, these are the ones who are ready to bear arms. They're ready to bear arms. They said they're ready to do whatever it takes to like achieve this peaceful governance. And it's something that we actually support, because yes, all of us we want peace. We want a good serene to thrive and be productive. We all want it. So whatever it costs to get it, we are in support of it. We've already lost way too many people, and not that we're happy that we lost them, but we all still know that peace cannot be achieved. Peace and liberation cannot be achieved without a fight. All right, blood had to be shed. They paid the sacrifice, but we still believe that what's ahead will be better, because as long as there's life, there's hope. So we just have that hope and believe that everything is going to be better. Okay, so that's how it is, because indeed, I have to be honest, no youth, not just the youths now, but since I'm speaking on behalf of the youths, I'll say no youth is actually happy. No youth is happy with what is going on. Everyone is sad. Everyone is disappointed with everything. And we actually, most of us are ready to do anything at all to achieve a good governance in this country. I've lived in Nigeria for almost all my life. I was born in Nigeria. I grew up in Nigeria, so I know everything. Like, I've experienced all these negative energy coming from the government. All right, all these negative vibes coming from the government. And we've experienced it all. We've witnessed it all. And trust me, it's not encouraging, and it's not a good one at all. Every youth right now, if you ask any youth right now, they want to leave the country. It's just that it's not possible. I mean, if it's possible for everyone to like leave the country, trust me, Nigeria will be desolate. Nigeria will be very desolate. The only people you will see in Nigeria are probably old people, and that's just it just ends there. But you won't see any youth in the country if we had the chance to like exit. But we don't have the chance, and the only thing we have to do is to fight. We have to keep raising our voices, speaking up and speaking out. They want to shut down our social media. They want to shut down our social media. That's one thing they want to do. They've actually passed the bill, but they're waiting for it to be signed by the government. They want to shut down our social media, but we are hoping that doesn't happen, because I mean, come to think of it, that's the only way we have to fight. There's no other way. There's no other way we can let the world know what is going on if we are being shut off from the world. And that's what they are actually vouching for, to show you how wicked and vile these people are. These men are. These people are people who their own children, none of them are in the country. None of their children are in the country, so they don't know what it means and how it feels to be in this country, to undergo all these trauma. They don't know they don't know how it feels. They don't know because they all have their kids outside the country, and they themselves once the heat is up, like our daddy talked about boiling water and the vape when it starts from cold, and then when it boils up and this gets to the boiling point, the steam starts evaporating. Everyone has reached the point of saturation. I mean, the whole thing has reached the point of saturation, and that's why we are letting everything out. We are unleashing right now. That's all we can do. That's all we can do. But we still hope. We hope that we get more support from our friends and families out there, and Nigerians as well, because we know we have so many Nigerians in different parts of the world who are actually in support of our cause, of what the youths are after. We know, so we just pray and hope that the whole the support, the whole thing works out fine for us, because we are the future. We can't have these people keep dictating our lives, or trying to like tilt or predict our own destinies. We are the ones to actually decide our fate. So we only have this means to do it. So but one very important thing that we do not want is the shutting down of the social media. We are really vying for that. They're really vying for that, and it will be very disastrous if they actually get that. Because don't think of it, I won't even be doing this Zoom meeting if I don't have internet connection. I won't be doing this. So I mean, the different measures we as a youth could get to take to like achieve this proper serene for productivity in our country. I mean, if these things, if they actually succeed in their plans, in their movements, in their cause, then we ourselves won't be. I mean, you find out that we will always be on the receiving end. We always be on the receiving end of whatever negativity they have to give out, and that's all they have to give out, negativity. So we just hope for the best. That's all we can do. We just hope for the best. We are not happy at all, but then we still move. We are not happy, but then we still move. We still try. We still try to like be productive and try to like be creative as well. For ourselves this time around, for ourselves and our families and our futures. Because we all know we cannot depend on the government. Trust me, no youth is dependent on the government in this country. No youth, nobody. Even civil servants are being owed salaries for how many months? I mean, they get to be owed salaries for 6 months, 5 months, 7 months. Whereas these men are laundering millions of, not just naira, we're talking about dollars this time. We use naira, but they launder in dollars, millions of dollars every month, every day, every week. You hear cases. And then whenever they get, probably something goes wrong, they get to like, let's say one of the politicians falls, is indicted and he's being prosecuted for laundering. Before 2-3 days, before the case is die down and settle down, you won't hear anything about it again. The media won't carry it. Nothing. Like you won't hear anything about it, and that's really, really bad. That's really, really bad. There's something I would have liked to say, but I don't know how it would. I really don't know. But it's more or less in line with this. Well, it's about the president, because we also have doubts that the president is actually genuine. I mean, we have doubts that it's the real president. We have much doubts because we believe. There was a time when a British blog carried the information where that our president was late. All right, but they carried that information, and I reblogged it. I also own a blog, so I reblogged it and channeled the source to the British blog. It wasn't even up to 24 hours. I got the mail to wipe it out from my blog. I got the mail to wipe. This was as early as 2:15, 2:16. All right, I had to wipe it out of my blog, because I mean it was more or less like a threat to my life. So I had to just do it. So to show you how the extent to which they go to preserve their negative their negative intentions and deeds and all that. So it's really appalling. It's really appalling. If you ask me, it's really appalling, because as it stands, we already know that we have an impostor, but no one can speak up about it, because come on, you don't want to lose your life. We know we are in a democratic rule, but we are being led by a dictator, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, because in a democratic rule, I believe the people are the ones who have with the rights, with the power to decide what they want. But in this case, it's different. It's just contrary. I mean, opposite is the case, because everything at all we get to see is dictatorship. Everything from a dictator, and it's really bad. It's really bad. And it's disappointing that some of these foreign borders, some of these foreign countries like the United States as well, who can actually intervene in these situations, wouldn't say anything about it. They don't say anything about it. It's quite disappointing, because we actually hoped that during this Endsars protest, the United States would have intervened, because it was quite serious. It was quite that serious. Everyone in the world knew about what was going on in Nigeria, and we hoped for some people to like intervene. But well, quite all right, they actually did, but they did quite late. They did when everything had ended. CNN carried the news 2 days ago. They finally did an investigation, proper investigation, and discovered that the military were the ones who actually carried out the shootings at the toll gates. It was a proper investigation they carried out, and I have proof. Of that. I have a link to the article on CNN. I have a link to that, so I'll drop it with Oyunkuzi Ngozi for her to like I don't know, somehow propagate it. So yeah, so we have proof that everything at all everything done at that Lekki Tollgate was domesticated by the government. The government planned and carried everything out. The killings, everything was done by the government. All right, and this is something that's really disappointing. In a government meant to be a democratic one, it's disappointing that everything has to be done by a dictator. It's bad, and it's really disappointing. I don't want to take much of the time, but if I have to go on and on, there's so much that we have to talk about about the whole thing. But
thank you so much, Zimi. I think, yeah, really appreciate just hearing from your perspective and hearing your insight. Yeah, very strong, and it hits home as well, especially knowing that you're one of us, relative. But yeah, thank you so much. We can feel free to direct questions directly to, or direct questions to Azimi. Actually, now is the time. If there are any questions, either to Mr. Luke or to Zimi, feel free to write it in the chat forum. If not, we can continue on to our third guest speaker, which is Casey. And then we can revisit the questions towards the end. I'll just clear this. Yeah, but yeah, Zimi, thank you so much. Dalurine. We can move on to our third guest speaker. So yeah, it's very interesting. 2020, October 1. So this year, 60 years independence of Nigeria. And it's a little bit, well, it's a lot sad and disappointing, like using the word Zimi used, 60 years of independence, and have we actually moved forward? And I think the answer to that is no, which is very disappointing. So I think my question for you, Kene, is why do you think there has not been a shift in the way Nigerian society has been run? And do you think people are afraid, or was it a matter of government intimidation, like we've heard? Yes, if you can touch on that, and also tell us a little bit about yourself before you begin, please.
Thank you. Onye Nkuzi Ngozi. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you, everyone. Just to myself, Casey Okoli, I grew up most of more than half of my life now was in Nigeria before I moved to Australia. I grew up there as a small boy, a youth, part of the youth. I also did suffer one or two of stuff in their hands as well. Before I moved over to Australia to study. Yeah, I did by qualification and in electrical engineer. Right now, running my own business, recycling, cooking oil. Hopefully someday we'll find that effective in Nigeria as well. We do. So my bit into today's discussion as well with the question I've been thrown. I'm trying to see how I can do justice to the question and then address the issue in 10 minutes. As we've already identified, the SARS is a squad, part of a police department that deals with armed robbery and kidnapping, killings, crimes, heavy crimes associated that are associated together. So this part of police was not formed of recent. It's been in operation for a while, and over their life of span initially started in a good way and functioned and did what it was supposed to do at the time and continue doing for some time that I knew them. But as government changes hands, then their department, their functionality will change as well, depending on how the government wants to use them. Now, the influence there, when they become good and when they become bad, completely, we will find it can be linked to the government, whether it be the president, the federal government, or the state government. Depends on how the government wants to use them, because it's the government that empowers them and their function. They are made up of people from normal police. They are made also mobile police, which mobile police and the normal police, they are different. One is heavily armed, more armed than the other, and they have more power. You also have the military form, the army side of it. Sometimes you see them 2 or 3 different colors, uniforms put together. They are all from different forms of forms of military or security governments put together to help them deal with the problems of heavy crimes in Nigeria. But of recent, their operations also is more fueled in, as Daddy was going to give us a description of the history of Nigeria and the coming down. So that history is just to give us an idea of kind of fractions or issues that are being coming up within the Nigeria society, Nigeria itself, be it ethnic clash or religious clash. Those again are how the government wants to use those groups form to reach their agreement, their agenda. One key thing, the bottom line is corruption within the government, federal and the state, bottom line. And this corruption is what is now, we see the effect of this corruption plays out in what we call SARS. SARS has its background, it's to come up to the foundation of SARS is to deal with crime, which they do, which they started with. Now the government is now also using them to achieve other purpose agenda. Part of those agenda is what we will find out as time goes on is linked to trying to minimize, mitigate, or minimize or stop the increase of what we call the Biafra or the Oduduwas. Because if we look around now, we will find out that this SARS operation really is functioning between those two regions, where you have the Biafrans and where you have the Oduduwas.
Sorry, sorry, if you can just explain briefly for those that may not know, who are the Biafrans and who are the Oduduwas?
The Biafrans, we just say, call it the Igbos, but they go beyond the Igbos. But let's just say, for simple terms, they're Igbos. You find them in the south of part of Nigeria, or the somewhere between the southeast and the south part of the Nigerians. And the Oduduwas, what I would just simply, in simple term, I'll just call them the Yorubas. Of course, you find the other forms of Yorubas where there's other groups anyway, but you find them in the west, pretty much in the west, and going towards a little bit in the north, but towards west, your western part of Nigeria, that's where you find them. This SARS is now heavily functioning right now, or before now, since I would say Endsars started somewhere in 2016, 2017. That's when you have this Endsars movement that started. And before then, the SARS has been operating. That makes sense that Endsars will started 2016 so they must want them to have end something in 2016. So something has been happening before the 2016. And those things are that typically, if you're a young, at least as it relates to what we're talking about right now, if you're a young man, you really can travel with a smartphone. It's better for you, it's safe for you to travel with the old form of Nokia than the smartphone Nokia. It's better you travel around with the normal flip phones. You flip it open to key in, then flip it. I mean, those are the 2G type of phones. It's safer for you to do that than to carry the type of phones that we are carrying today. And so because these phones are easily linked with those that they call the crime guys. Now, the crime that they want to fight these times, of course, we know as internet crime continues to increase worldwide, there's more focus in Nigeria, because even if you get letter here today, most likely people will say it's from Nigeria, even when it is not. And so there's this SARS in Nigeria. This SARS now is, the government wants to clamp down on these so-called boys, internet boys or crime guys, which they brand them the Yahoo boys, 419ers, pretty much the guys that obtain by trick. And so they want to clamp down on them. And so these operations of SARS is to look for them and bring them down. There are some operating. There are genuine boys, genuine guys who goes about doing their daily business, functioning as well. At the time, this generation that we're in, most of them, because of the scarcity of jobs in Nigeria, and it's not easy. You can't just get a job anyhow in Nigeria. It's scarce. Even those who have the jobs still don't have the work to do. And so you have more youths that are more creative, more open-minded in using the internet, using their phone to create a market, to create a product for themselves and to sell. So you find more working on their phone and making side-by income on the laptop, on the phone, creating ads for companies using phone, laptop. So more people that are doing that are this generation. Generation before them can't operate these systems. So it's not very easy. It's not, they want the services of this generation using these technologies. So this technology is coming from phone or from computers or laptops. These generations can do that. At least we have one of them here. They can do that. So when they say they want to clamp down on Yahoo boys, which of course they use the same platform, now they can go about clamping down anybody that uses this system because of, again, we need to understand corruption. We need to understand the need for the government to clamp down on Biafrans, the Oduduwas. Those are the people, when you call the human right, human right activists in those two groups, to actually effectively limit their operation and limit their influence, and limit the influence, of course, their promotion to the international world as well. So this is the avenue the government have find to be able to track them down, is to say they are looking for the Yahoo boys. So like the brother we have here today, if they have gone into his phone and find something relating to Biafra promotion or the Duduwa promotion, then he would be more, it would not matter how much he had in the account. The amount of money he has in the account will be nothing, because the issue is not just that money, is the issue, what they're looking for. They will take your money and they will still kill you, because you are part of those that they make they actually are fighting against the government that have set them up. So what we are dealing is beyond what we can do in 5 to 10 minutes right now.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to stop these agitations continuing, the SARS has been empowered to look for what we will find on paper, that it will be everywhere, is to look for and to arrest or perhaps kill any criminal, armed or so. That's what we will find on paper. But the behind that, what they have been doing so far is to ensure that not just the criminals, but every normal citizen of Nigeria, youth particularly, is also dealt with, or maybe perhaps killed in most cases. Now, these youths are the power, the hands for today, are the future for tomorrow, and they know where to source their information from, and they know how to go about using their information. And they are those that we actually fight for. They are the ones fighting for their generation. They're going to continue fighting for their generation in form of protest and every other forms that is necessary that they will be able to use. And so it's easy. It's better for the government see it easy to deal with them. If you can deal with the mouthpiece, then you've dealt with the group as a whole. Mm-hmm. And so they want to deal with the mouthpiece, and that's where SARS is heavily used. Mm-hmm. Any youth traveling from point A to B, we make sure that he is very well identified. Mm-hmm. And anything that we implement that will connect you or link you up with somebody else, you most likely want to get rid of it first, before to be safe, before you continue what you are doing. My mom traveled a couple of months back, and she said she traveled by road. She used the public transport, and I asked her why. She said, you cannot travel on your private car anymore. You can't. You cannot have your driver, a young man, drive you safe from Lagos to Anambra safe anymore, because these SARS people will stop you and possibly kill your driver and say he's an armed robber. Mm-hmm. If they don't take you into the bush to empty your account, they will do one thing or the other just to get rid of him, and you find your way. So it's much safer to travel in that public transport. When they stop the driver, they can only extort the driver and nobody else. Sometimes they can harass the whole bus passengers. And so these are the underlying issues that is surrounding this Endsars. Are the youths intimidated? Yes. Are they afraid? Yes. Because it's affecting their own, most of them, those who are legit in what they do, it's affecting their source of livelihood. They produce, there's no work, no job for them, but the one they can do, so online marketing, online promotion. If you're a musician, somebody can help you market your business. Somebody else can write a program to market you in Zimbabwe, or market you in South Africa, or market you. You know, these people, these youths are creative, and so trying to coming up with this SaaS thing puts a fear in them not to be able to do what they have to do. So there's a fear if he or she is still going to be alive trying to make a living. So are they intimidated? Yes. Is there fear? Yes. So that's how it's, I'm trying to cut short. That's how it comes down to how people live in Nigeria and run their business. A couple of years back, before 5 years, I traveled with my wife. We went back to Nigeria. We spent just about a year there to help my dad and in his venture to spend 1 year and to do that in his business. The things that we saw, the things I saw myself, it's nothing we can all finish talking about today. But it's a place where, whether you're running legit business or not, you're going to somehow get yourself, if you really want to run your business safely. I mean, there's one arm of the business I was doing then. I just have to get this. I have to go to the police station and meet the DPO for that area. And he assigned me guys from one of their patrol stations. Guys, I'm not saying 2, 3, guys, different guys. They will have to come to the business area every now and then. You know, this is how, for you to make sure you run your business well. You need them, that you need that presence. And if you don't do so, then every now and then you have robbers coming around, not because the thieves wants to come, but because they will send them.
Wow.
So to avert that, I just went straight on to meet them. Meet them, see them, let them know that they are free to come. So after a while, I stopped. When I stopped, it wasn't 1 month or so. The place was robbed.
Wow.
So these are the things that, you know, doing business, you need to do business, that you need to also understand, and to do that, to understand, and then understand how you're going to follow them. One, you need to follow them not in the way that you're promoting the continuity of what is happening, but to keep yourself safe and keep the community that you're operating the business in safe. And then find a way to deal with the problems that you're dealing with. Not just this, the other forms, the other areas. I had an issue with the community, with the council area. And apart from the SARS one, I went to the head office, where I thought their head office is the issue will be trashed. And by the time they asked me 2 questions, I knew that I'm in the wrong office. I knew something different was just going to happen. So I told them I was coming. I left. And I just left. I forgot about the whole issue. I decided whatever it's a ridiculous bill you gave me, I'll just pay the bill. Wow. So these are the form. These are different ways. These things. It's not just Endsars, but we're talking about Endsars. And so the youths, the protest that has happened is for the youths, not just that they want the Endsars, but they want their livelihood. They're saying we want our livelihood, we want our safety, and that's why when their list came up, people say they've gone from Endsars to Good Road, and they said, no, it's not just the Endsars is, yes, that's what they see, but the point beyond the Endsars is I want to travel on the road safe. Beyond that Endsars is I want to sleep safe. I want good water. I want when the power bill is on, my bill electricity, I want it on. Sometimes the NEPA authority will come cut off your light. You can't even report to the police. You can't even call the Endsars. Yeah, I'm sorry, you can't even call the SARS guy. So these are when they say Endsars, what he represents for the youth is good road. What he represents for them is their livelihood to be met, to continue living as human beings. What it meant for them is to have good jobs. What it meant for them is to have a safe place to sleep. Now, we hear that there is they had a shooting in one of the areas in Lekki areas. I believe they're trying to look for the strategic place where they would deal with the youth and the rest will scatter. Lekki is turned out to be an area where you have the rich. Now, the youths there have interacted with the rich youths, those who have come from overseas, who came from America, came from Australia, came from different parts, and they've seen things work. And they see these youths behave different. They see things work elsewhere. So they have summoned enough courage there to be able to do what they did there. And they believe if they're able to deal with this type of youth, the other youths that have not seen anything to deal with, I mean, they're still struggling for bread to eat, they will just go to bed. And I strongly believe that's one of the mistakes they did. And it's good that mistake happened because those youths there, they're not just common youths. There are common youths amongst them, but most of them are with people also who have influence within the country to some extent, maybe not all, to some extent, that can help to facilitate, which now we see in international interest, UNN or whoever, those who are coming to show interest are coming to show it because there are people from their side, the youths who are perhaps UK origin or youths who are Australian or American origin have come in and their citizen was affected. And so they want to know as well. So that's how these things are linking and going on. I think I'll just stop here, but the topic is beyond what we can do today. Thank you.
In a short time. Yeah, thank you so much, Kenneth. No, I really appreciate that. If you have any questions towards Kenneth, feel free to write. I've got a few already, but I will direct them. I've got one for you, Zimi, but I'll direct that to you at the appropriate time. So we'll move on to our final guest speaker, Mrs. Chinwe. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, if you don't mind telling us a little bit about yourself, and then also the question I will direct to you regarding the legal system. I know, for example, here in New Zealand, or quite similar to Australia, we have the three arms of governance. So we have, the courts, we have executive, which is like the police and government, and then we have the legislative arm, which is parliament. And when something such as the Lekki Tollgate shootings will happen, if that was ever to happen here in New Zealand, the police or a department of the police taking shots openly at citizens, within 24 hours, courts at least, or parliament will intervene and will check the police or check that arm of governance for what they've done. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's the case in Nigeria, and we're still waiting for justice. So yeah, my question for you is, why do you think Nigerian legal system or the courts are not effective?
Okay, thank you so much for having me, Ngo. Ndewo. Reverend Lou, good evening. Mommy, good evening. Dalulu, I am transmitting from North Queensland. from Townsville in the north. So maka ndị ọzọ ama m na anyị ncha na-anụ Igbo. So I'm gonna mix in Kem, I'm gonna mix here with Igbo.
Okay, I'll try and translate where required.
Okay. Well, I'll make it more of English anyway. Yes, I'm happy to be here, and thank you so much, Ingo, for all the effort in putting this together. Now, my name is Chinwe, Mrs. Chinwe Ebo. I am a lawyer in Queensland. I live in Townsville. So Townsville is in the northern part of Queensland. So I studied at UNN, finished in 2006. And then I came to Australia, did additional studies, and became admitted as a lawyer in Australia in 2000. So I went to the Caribbean before coming to Australia. So anyway, in 2012, I was admitted as a lawyer here. And in 2016, I floated my own practice. So I run my own practice here. And by God's grace, it's been going well. So far, so good. So now that's a little bit of me. I'm a mom. I've got 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. Now, coming to the issue of the Endsars and looking at it from a legal perspective, just like you pointed out, Ngo, we have what we call separation of power.
Mm-hmm.
So separation of power means that the authority and the power and the responsibilities of running a government, that it has to be separated, and most times it's separated into 3 parts, and that is the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. Now, every system in the world that operates the way a country should operate. You see, the point is this: we need to understand that Nigeria does not operate the way a normal country should operate. So what you see going on in the Nigerian legal system is not the rule, but an exception to the rule. Now, separation of power means that these 3 arms of government would stand separately. It doesn't mean that they are enemies or that they can't meet. They would meet, but they will meet on official levels. They are not supposed to meet informally. They are not supposed to meet at the bar or at restaurants. They're not supposed to meet in the house. But that's what happens, because when they start meeting in this avenue, in these places, they start getting compromised. So now, under normal circumstances, the arms are supposed to be separated. And when they are divided and everyone on their own, that's when they function more effective. But in the case of Nigeria, there is no separation between these arms of government. And so there is collusion all the time. And that is why the system is so loose. And that is why the legal system is grossly ineffective. Now, the legislature or the legislative arm is supposed to make the laws. That's the parliament. You know when you hear the lawmakers in Nigeria, the House of Representatives and the Senate. Mm-hmm. So they are responsible for making our laws. And then when they make the laws, the executive arm, which is the president, like in this case, Buhari and the others, the cabinet members, are responsible to execute the laws. Mm-hmm. Now, the judiciary, which involves the lawyers, the judges, and also the law enforcement agents or agencies, such as the police. As you can see, police is the most strategic law enforcement agent in Nigeria. I'll come to the police and what they do, and why I say that Nigeria does not function like normal other countries around the world. If you've seen what federal system of government looks like, and if you have seen what separation of power is, then you will know that we are not anywhere close to working in the way things should work. Now, when the legislative arm makes the law, the executive arm will implement the law, and the judiciary has the responsibility of administering justice. And what do? When these legislatures have made the law and somebody breaks the law, then that person will face the judiciary arm. And that is where the judiciary comes in. They will help us, because you and I don't know the law. So the judiciary will help us to interpret the law. They will interpret what the law means to us and tell us we need to stay away from trouble. And so when we break the law, the judiciary, we will face them in court, and they will tell us the sentences that are attached to the offense we have committed. And they will either put us in jail or give us a fine to pay for breaking the law. And when we finish that, when you finish that and come out, it is expected that you would not be a good law-abiding citizen. Now, but what happens in Nigeria is that because these arms are not independent, then what you see is, you see people who make law, the parliament members who make law, they themselves will break the law. And instead of facing the judiciary because they have broken the law, they don't get punished. And because they don't get punished, they get away with it. And so when they get away with it, you and I, when we break the law, because we are not connected to power, we get punished by the judiciary because we don't have powers. So now what is happening? The judiciary is giving preferential treatment to the lawmakers or to other big boys in the society while they are punishing the poor masses. And so it boils down to the fact that because of the collusion between these three arms of government, collusion which works against the citizens, everyone is suffering. You understand? The system, the legal system in Nigeria favors the rich. And how does it work? It favors the rich because when the rich want to change the law in their favor, they change the law in their favor. But when the ordinary person wants help with the law, there won't be anywhere for the law to help. Okay, look at the Endsars protest. Under normal circumstances, there is no basis for attacking innocent youths that were having, a very peaceful protest over their rights. There was no basis for the attack. And now, Nigeria is such a terrible place that they won't even own up to the attack. They will say, oh, we didn't attack them. So who attacked them? So these are instances, but in a good system where things work very well, there won't be any issues as to who attacked or who didn't attack, because everything is there. And again, it's computerized system. Things are not computerized in Nigeria. So anybody can do anything and there is no way to trace it. So our legal system ideally should work well because Nigeria has very, very brilliant lawyers. Look, Nigeria has some of the best brains when it comes to law. Nigerian lawyers are in the UK, they're in US, they're in Australia making waves. So why is it that our laws are back home are not working well? Because of corruption. Now, in a system where the judge, judges, appointment of a judge, it goes through a process. And the process is such that it should be independently handled and it shouldn't be influenced in any way. But in a situation where the president of the country has a say on who becomes the judge or wants somebody of interest to be appointed as a judge, now what happens? When the person becomes a judge, the person will be loyal to the president and the person will no longer be loyal to the constitution or to us. The person is now serving the government. And so there is no way this person can administer justice in a way that is expected by the constitution. And there are so many ways you can do it. Look, if you want to be corrupt, you can be corrupt. There are so many ways the judges can do it. They either frustrate the case by continuous and excessive and unending adjournment. For instance, when they do after election, or even this Endsars protest, some of these suits might say, okay, let's go to court. Let's take this matter to court. It's frustrating. You take a case to court, you don't get any results. Because from the time the case appears in court, the case is already dead upon arrival. Because both the lawyer and the judge that will hear the case, all of them pay allegiance to the government. And the government is interested in that case. And you are suing the government. And the judge who will hear the case or the magistrate, they were all appointed by the president or those working for the president. So where are you going to get the justice? You can't get justice anywhere because they are all compromised. Now, you talk about the legislatures. You see when a bill comes up for consideration, they don't pass the bill. They won't pass the bill unless they get some money. You've heard Nigerian legislators, lawmakers, collecting money to pass a certain bill. It is immoral. Or when they refuse to pass a bill because they haven't been given money. Or when the executive compels them to pass a particular bill in their own favor. So when these things happen, you can't have separation of power. And so everybody is working in their own interest. And that is why we are where we are today. So if we talk about what can be done to make sure that our legal system is functioning well, there are many things that can be done, but I will just name, but just a few. Now, one of them will be to ensure that in everything that we do in Nigeria as a society, that there is separation of power. Let the judiciary stay on their own and let them not get tainted by anything that will compromise their position. Then let the legislatures make their laws and let them not allow themselves to be influenced. And the executive arm should implement the laws which we have elected them to implement. And how would we ensure that these things are done? Also, the police is also a law enforcement agency that is very important in Nigeria. I see police officers taking people, arresting people for debt or arresting people for civil matters. Police is not meant to interfere in civil matters. They should be educated that if somebody comes with, landlord and tenant disputes or debt matters, you take it, they go to court. Mm-hmm. Now, if it is something that has to do with this Endsars protest, if you think that the protesters are becoming violent, then you can step in to stop them. But the police too should be educated on where their right starts and where the right ends and where they should hand over to the courts, so that, they don't muddle up things by just, going beyond their boundaries. Then another thing is court orders. If we want our legal system to be effective, we need to start obeying court orders in Nigeria. The big boys in Nigeria, the politicians, the affluent, the rich ones, they don't obey court orders. The governors, in Australia here, they may not have the fear of God, but they have the fear of their law. Yeah. They fear their law more than anything, because they know that when you break the law, there are consequences, and you will face the consequences, whether you are poor or you are rich, whether you are living in Canberra or you are not, you will face the music. But in Nigeria, big boys don't obey court orders. You give a court order to a governor, he ignores it, and nothing happens. So people should start obeying court orders so that other people would learn that court orders work. Because when you see your governor or your local government chairman being punished for breaking or breaching, or even for not obeying court order, then you as an ordinary person, you will be scared to do the same thing. You will now learn that doing this is wrong and that you get into trouble. So our leaders will need to lead by example, by obeying our court orders, to show that our orders from the court are documents and orders that must be honored and respected. Without that, nobody is going to respect our orders. Mm-hmm. Now, another thing is we need to also ensure that our laws are being modified as we go. For instance, there was a time I heard that somebody stole, they said somebody stole about, I think it was 1 million naira. And then the lady was sentenced to about 10 years in jail was the sentence. But then I heard about another politician who was involved in pension fund scam, fraud, to the tunes of billions. And then that he was given an option of custodial sentence or a fine of 750,000 naira. And what did he do? He quickly paid a fine of 750,000, and that was the end of the case. So this is an anomaly. So we need to review even our sentences and to know what should be appropriate and commensurate for certain offenses, and make sure that people are punished according to what they have done. Mm-hmm. That higher punishments are not given for lesser offenses, and that lesser punishments are not given for very heavy and huge offenses. So these are the things that we need to look into, and then ensure that we are in tune with what is going on, with in modern democracies, especially given that our youths are coming up. There is now the law for technology law. Most of our youths are all on the internet. We need to have a very sound law in relation to the use of internet, be able to know when to arrest a youth who is holding an iPad or a laptop. Like one of our brothers said, that somebody has iPhone 12 does not mean the person is a Yahoo boy. Do you understand? People have iPhone 12 because they are doing business. See, this iPhone you see, this is job, is employment. You can do so many businesses and earn a living with an iPhone or with your laptop. So, but because of illiteracy and lack of knowledge, the police will see and think, oh, he's the Yahoo boy. No, they are changing. Nigerian youths are moving with the changes in the world. Everything is going online. If not for coronavirus pandemic, we may not be having this Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
So a lot of things have changed, and they need to be attending update courses to see the changes and follow those changes. Another thing too, I would like to point is, poverty. The poverty at home is a huge problem for everything in Nigeria. Because come to think of it, if our lawyers and our judges are well remunerated, if they are paid handsomely, not that you won't get those who will still want to be compromised, but majority of them will not be attracted into receiving bribe and other things in a way that will affect them in their work as lawyers. But because of poverty, people are so poor. They don't have money to take their kids to hospital. They don't have money to pay school fees. In this tight financial difficulty, somebody comes around and said, oh, I have this case in court, but I want you to knock out the case. I'm going to give you 500,000. I can transfer it into your account immediately. Ngo, you will agree with me that it's very attractive. You will be tempted to do it, to take the money, and then, go against justice and go against what is wrong. So we have to, the government will have to improve the lives of those who dispense this justice, improve the life of our policemen too, improve the life of all the people in the ladder of justice, so that let them do their part. And when they've done their part, we know that now we're dealing with those who are just evil, that no matter what you do for them, they will still be corrupt. Then the system will know how to deal with those ones. So it's multifactorial, but I think what we need to do is, of all the points I've mentioned here, the question is, what if the government doesn't want to improve the lives of lawyers and judges? So should we continue, to be corrupt? No. What we need to do is, in the meantime, this government I see today in Nigeria, they're not going to change our condition of living tomorrow. And so we need to start doing what we consider right, not just for ourselves, but the sake of our children and for posterity. If we all don't make a decision to change the system in Nigeria from our own small corners, the system may never change. And so what I'm saying is that the lawyers should start changing by refusing to take bribe. The judges should start changing by refusing to get compromised and telling these politicians and big men, no, I'm working under an oath of office, and I have to dispense this justice according to the law. At least one other thing, you do it for your own conscience. So we need to start doing all the little things we can do from our end, without which we're making no headway in terms of effectiveness of our legal system in Nigeria. We can achieve it, but we need to work together as a team to see it happen.
Thank you. And with just a final question, with regards to generally looking at everything, what do you think is the way forward for Nigerians, or for both Nigerians there or maybe in diaspora? What would you suggest we should do now?
You mean, is it in terms of our legal system or overall?
Overall, yeah.
Okay. Now, what I think we should do, and I'm sure you're asking this question from the point of view of the Endsars protest. Is it correct? Good. So what I think we should do, to be honest, when we had the Endsars protest, I was, I'm in Australia here, but I was following it. And I wasn't happy when I was reading in the news, some parents or people would say, oh, the youths are saying this. And I'll be like, it's not the youths are saying, we are all saying it. The protest is for all of us. We shouldn't just, push it to the youths like, oh, it's the youths. We're not, because if the youth fights it out and get that benefit, it will be good for all of us. So what I think we should do is that there is no system that functions without activism. This is my personal opinion. I might be wrong, but this is just my view. What I think we should do is that Nigerians should continue. We should continue to protest. That's my view. Now, protests can be in many forms. It can be by going on the street. It can be by writing. Even what we are doing now, Ngo, we are protesting because we are discussing, we are expressing our views, and we're voicing out things that we are not satisfied with. So let us not keep quiet. Everybody, wherever you are, any forum that you get, that you have an opportunity, air your view, those on Twitter, those on Facebook, those on anywhere you are that you can express your opinion about what is going on in Nigeria. Just keep doing it. It is a form of protest. Now, the youths, I also want to tell the youths that they were attacked during the last protest. Does not mean they can't gather again. They should continue to gather because it is their right. It is their fundamental right to protest. It is enshrined in the Constitution. You understand? Look at a country like Thailand. When they start their protest, they don't ever stop. It doesn't end until they get what they are looking for. They are so resilient. They relocate to the street with all their kids. In fact, they're ready to stay on the street for 1 month, protesting, cooking and eating on the street, under the rain and under the sun. You see, because when you are fighting for your future, I tell people that the fight for Nigeria is no longer even for us. Because some of us, like daddy and mommy, they are much older than me. People are in our age grade. And then I say, oh, it's not even for me. Then talk about mom and dad. So it's not even for us anymore. I worry for my kids. My son that is 11 years old, I worry for him that if we don't do something, my son Onyekachi might grow up and still be saying what I'm saying today. You understand? So we need to start talking. Let everybody start talking from wherever he or she is. That's what we need to go on the aspect of activism. Then the other one is, during election, we need to elect people that can represent the interests of the people, and not elect people based on influence. Nigeria is a country where everything that happens in Nigeria is diminished at the altar of religion, tribe, or political affiliation. Is it a PDP or APC? It kills it. Christian or Muslim, it kills it. South and North, or Igbo and also Yoruba, that's it. Everything in Nigeria, it's these three factors: religion, tribe, and political affiliation. They are the three things that will slaughter anything that is a good idea or intention that you bring up in Nigeria. And that's why we're not making progress. If the southern Nigerian people can come together and put tribe away and work as a team, we might be able to tell our brothers in the north, because the thing is that some of our brothers and sisters in the north are also suffering. Yeah. We might be able to tell them, come, you people should come, let us reason together, see this thing the way we are seeing it. But will Igbo people and Yoruba work together? When are we going to stop talking about, hating each other and using, words that tend to undermine the other party? So we need to work as a team. All people of good conscience in Nigeria, whether you're in the north or south, what is happening in Nigeria is abnormal. It doesn't call for politics. It doesn't call for tribe or religious consideration. It calls for people with good conscience to come out and form a team and work for the deliverance and for the liberation of Nigeria from the claws of those who are holding us down for years. And these people holding us down are not only Igbos. There are Hausas. They are not only Christians or Muslims. There are some Christians there. They are the political gang that have been holding us down. We need to liberate ourselves from them so that we cannot have equity and live as normal people.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, well, I'll start with, there's a question for you, Auntie Chinwe. I'll just direct it while I've got you, and then I'll direct the next question to Zimi.
All right.
A question for you is, what happens then when we know full well that an election isn't even an effective means in Nigeria, given the definite presence of electoral corruption and rigging?
Yes, that is the problem. I was going to touch on that when I was talking, when I mentioned electing leaders that will represent our interests. To be very honest with you, what I said is what I believe it should be. We have to go and elect those that we trust. But like I pointed earlier when I was talking, the same problem of corruption is still the thing that is holding all of us down. So electing somebody that will represent your interests, and then at the end of the day, that person doesn't get your vote, or your vote doesn't count for that person. It doesn't make sense that you have elected the person. So what I think we should do in that situation is, especially with this Endsars protest, if the Endsars protest youths can work together and team themselves up, they can actually form a very formidable political party.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So if they can form a very strong political party, and then like in the United States, so they will form a body, they will become a body that politicians will come to them and they will sit down with them and say, okay, what do you want? What can you do for us? So if we get ourselves organized, I mean the youths, and the younger ones, then we might be able to say that this is whom we are supporting. And that if at the end of the day, we all know that we have voted for Mr. B, and at the end of the day, Mr. B is not declared as a winner, even though we know that we all voted for Mr. B, then that is when we will start asking questions, and that is what leads to protest. We can't run away from protesting. So when it happens, we protest. We say, no, protesting is normal. Like in the house, you give your child, one of your kids, you give the other one and you don't give the other one something. The other one will start crying. The child is protesting. So we protest. We say no. Like in the US now, in what is going on with Trump, there's a particular county that said, everybody, I'm quoting the statement of the lady. The lady said that everyone in this county voted for Trump. Go house by house. They all voted for Trump. So why is it that Trump lost in this particular county? I'm just using it as an example. So that's how it is. If all the youths come together and we say, okay, we are endorsing Professor Kingsley Moghalu for president, and we all vote for Kingsley Moghalu, and then tomorrow they'll come out and tell us, that Kingsley got 20% of votes from youth. The Nigerian youth will say, why did it happen? Because we know we voted for Kingsley, we endorsed him. So the only thing we can do in that situation is to keep asking questions and to keep protesting in a peaceful way, because there is nothing we can do. And we will not run away because they come and they attack us with police and army. No, we have to keep protesting. And we also have to keep, again, it's going on the grassroots. We need to also go home. All the people representing us back home, from local government level, we have to start asking them against corruption, because that is the major problem. Until corruption is completely eradicated in Nigeria, or relatively eradicated, the system will continue to have cracks.
Wow. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Zimi, coming back to you, and I guess Mrs. Chinwe has also touched on this a little bit, but the question is, what's the role of, or what do you think the role of diaspora youth should play in this movement?
Okay. Looking at that from my perspective, my vantage point, I believe what we need from those who are in diaspora is more publicity. Like, we need to let the world know and understand exactly what is going on. So those who are there, the youth there, can actually organize themselves and even organize themselves, carry out a protest while wherever they are. I mean, wherever it is they are, whatever country it is they are, they can organize a protest. They can publicize whatever it is, what it is that we are actually vying for. Okay, so mainly another thing that can be done is doing it online. It's quite effective. I mean, over time we discovered that the online protest was very effective. I mean, that was actually the only way people like CNN, BBC, who actually carried the news, got to know about it. An online protest is very, very effective. Given the fact that they are not here with us to actually carry out the movement here in the country, they can help by carrying out an online protest, or even organizing themselves over there to carry out a protest, a physical protest over there, whatever country they are, to make those in that country, to make people around understand that this is what's actually going on in Nigeria, back at home. This is actually what's going on, and definitely you may get to see people who have a kind of connection, who have influence. They could pick interest in what's actually going on. It's very, very possible that in the midst of the protest, in the midst of the publicity, people with influence could pick interest, and you never can tell what could be achieved when people like that actually decide, okay, I'm interested in this. I want to see a solution. I want to find a way to help these youths achieve this. It's very, very possible. We just know basically we need more people to know about it. I mean, it's a protest, so it works most with numbers. It works very effectively with numbers. So the more we are, the more populated we are, vying for the same goal, vying for the same interest. It's very, very. It's very possible for us to achieve our aim. It's very possible, and it's actually worth it. If you look at it, it's actually worth it, because when we over here understand and find out that our brothers and our sisters over there are actually in support of what we are doing, actually in support and they actually show their support by not just an online protest this time, but also organizing themselves to carry out that physical protest there. It creates more hope in our hearts, and with more hope, we know what we can achieve. When everyone has that hope, when everyone has that encouragement, when we're encouraged, we know what we can achieve. Moreover, you know what we also achieve with unity. When everyone has the same interest at heart, everyone is fighting for the same purpose, we can achieve great things with that. So I think that's what I think can be done by the youths in diaspora to help the achieve the game.
Okay, thank you. That I'll direct this next question to. Oh, did you want to add to that, Mr. Wunze?
Yeah. Just to add to what our beloved sister Chinwe have said, and the appeal that Zimi is making. I think when we started, we did say the Nigerian situation is very fundamentally foundational. The whole problem. I mean, that's why it's been going on for over 60 years. And that's why, I mean, as old as I am, everything I have known all my life is frustration. It's one issue after another. We've never really enjoyed our country, life as it is when you are in Nigeria, or when you are a Nigerian. And the worst that can happen to anyone here, those of us that have traveled, I know you had a survey, a poll earlier to ask who has been in Nigeria the last 5 years. One of the greatest tragedy that can happen to anyone is to travel to Nigeria with the Nigerian passport. And not just only to Nigeria, but anywhere else in the world. And you present that green passport and it's written Nigeria, you are automatically singled out, and you put on the side and other people will be let to pass. I want to, Zimi's been saying people in the diaspora, doing something. Can I say, there are two of us here tonight who I want to let us know the role our beloved sister Chinwe that have just spoken, that the role that she has played from diaspora over here since 2017, when we had the Operation Python Dance in the Southeast that led to destruction, almost this, because by 2017, everybody thought that the likes of Brother Nnamdi Kanu has been killed by the army because they invaded their hometown, invaded the family, and destroyed everything. We are not sure where the parents were. We had many people, about 23 or 24 people lost their life within the compound there, including his personal dog, were killed by the military. But after a while, while that happened, our sister you see here was becomes disturbed, and there was instrumental in bringing Igbos in diaspora And that led to what we call the GIA, which stands for Global Igbo Alliance. And the purpose of that is actually to begin to raise a voice, to speak in about what is happening. And it's not just speaking, we've done different newspaper publication responding to the situation in Nigeria. As I said, the issue there is fundamentally foundational, and we can trace that foundational issue to what constitutes the Constitution of Nigeria, which is a fraud. Because all these things, the confusion between the legislators and the executive and the judiciaries can all be traced how this document was put together, not by the people that made up Nigeria, not by the nationalities, but the military who put it together. I say, what is called the Decree 24 actually metamorphosed to Constitution by 1999, okay, when the military decided to hand over to democratically elected government. As we noted, I said it earlier, and Zimi said it earlier, but we have had a sister from Canada, DJ Switch, alluding to the fact that democracy is just a face. What is working in Nigeria is dictatorship. They just put the democracy as a front to confuse the world, So that is not working. We are looking at holistically, because here we are looking at the young generations like you, like everyone that is here. Those of you that are born overseas, you've never practically not spent any life in Nigeria to experience what some of us here have been saying that we've been through, and that is still going on up till now. And the solution for us is gonna be fundamental. It's gonna be a drastic. We've been asking for Nigeria to be renegotiated. We've been asking for a referendum. We've been asking for a referendum that will get back to a holistic constitution that will favor every nationality that embodied this entity called Nigeria. And until that happens, we can't just cut and paste. Nigeria situation is like a wound. If you just keep putting a bandage over it over and over, thinking it's healed, but internally it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. As I said earlier, the Endsars protest was like that is the boiling point of that water, that the temperature has been slowly gathering steam until it gets to that place. There's nothing you can do anymore. The youth represent everybody in Nigeria. So we need to see a change. And the interesting thing, as our second speaker was alluding, there is a very strong agitation between the eastern region and the western region of Nigeria. These are all happening. So from the GIA platform, we have asked for Nigeria to go back to the way it was in 1963, where regional governments can govern themselves, police, and the people who control their resources, as we see here in Australia. Australia is the best example of a federation where each states are operating on their own, control their resources. But we have Australia. It's amazing here when you've been in Australia and see how Australia function, and then you look back to Nigeria. I mean, Nigeria took the architectural of Canberra to develop Abuja. The two state capitals in the world that were built from scratch in the middle of nowhere is ACTs here in Australia, and the FCT in Nigeria, Abuja. Okay, but that's where the similarity stop. Every other thing is a feudalistic what do you call it? Dictatorship regime, but put a face of democracy, and it's not working. So the elder generation like us, we are not resting, we are working. We are working tirelessly to bring a bigger change, something that will outlast us, because we don't want to see our children's children go through the same thing that we have been. That is why there is a very strong of agitation in the East and among the Biafrans. I'm sure some of you must have heard about the IPOB, which stands for Indigenous People of Biafra. I mean, they are a body that is, saying, listen, we have had enough. We are asking for disintegration. We want self-determination, and they are campaigning for that. Over there in the West, the Duduwas also have come up with a very strong. So these are the elements, I think, and this is what the ruling class are afraid of, and that's why they are coming heavy-handedly on this youth to kill them, to demoralize them, and to stop what they are asking for. But I think they've made the greatest mistake of their life by attacking these youths, because it has backfired. We've got to the point of no return. We are one or the other is going to happen in Nigeria. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. And actually, I'll just direct this question at you, and then to KC. What are the hopes of Nigerian and African youth in diaspora returning to Nigeria, living peacefully and freely?
Well, that's a task that we are carrying, because when we think of our young people in diaspora, when we think of the talents, we believe that every one of our people are wonderful and fearfully made. We are not second class in any sense. We are first class in everything. And something that will last has to be done. And that's where we're looking at complete makeover. There has to be a restructure. There has to be that restructure has to occur for, all the things our sister alluded in terms of governance can actually happen. Until that happens, and the young generation should not lose hope, because something is being done to remedy what is happening. And but also the young generation, we need their voice more than anything, because what their voice beginning to rise right now actually is making the sleeping giants to begin to wake up and say, oops, something has to be done. The Nigeria problem is very few. It's very, very few. I mean, less than 5 million people are dictating what is happening over when we are 200 million. You remove 5 million, how many? What's the balance?
195.
190. The rest of the 195, only 5. Because the Fulanis, who are the main perpetrators of whatever is happening, who are holding every other part of Nigeria hostage, they are minor. So that's where the awakening is coming. There is a awakening amongst the middle belt. There is awakening amongst the Western. There are some kind of unity that has never been before amongst these people. All of a sudden, no part want to be a willing tool anymore in the hand of the Fulanis. And they know that, and they are not, they're feeling the heat also.
Thank you. And just for the Fulanis are in the northern region of Nigeria. So we have the Hausas, Fulanis, southeast Igbos, southwest or west Yoruba, and then plus all the other tribes in between as well, just for clarification. But yeah, thank you. And lastly, Casey, will take this one to you and then we can close the webinar. So just coming off of hopes of Nigerian youth in diaspora returning, what are hopes of Nigerian youth investing in Nigeria, business-wise? Myself or anyone, what what are your suggestions or thoughts around that as it is today?
As it is today, they hope. I'm trying to figure out how to answer this question. First, it's a very tricky question, but you want to look. If I'm going to, I would rather say, as the country continues to evolve or change for betterment, the hope increases for people to go back and invest. I have an interest to invest, but not right now. I don't just want to do it right now, because I do not see how that would succeed very much. I probably see it failing sooner than expected to fail. People invest hoping to succeed, but they also have the opposite. They have in mind that it might fail. So when they're planning to, if they plan that way, they say maybe if I try 1 or 2 years, if it doesn't work out, then. But in this case, I'm saying if you invest, you fail sooner than that. I don't know if I'm making sense. So for anybody, I am not going to sit down here and just ask any youth to just simply go to Nigeria and invest. I'm not even doing it for the wealthy people that have the money to spend right now, because the country is not a place where you invest. I'm even saying those that have invested in the West should take back their investment, go back to South or Southeast. And so that if anything is happening, at least it happens in your house. So it's a tricky question. I don't want to condemn the place that it's not going to change. Change is coming, and only do that when the change is there. But right now, it's a very high risk place for investment, which most likely the return is, they say something when it's high risk, then it means the return is much. This is high risk and the return is not much.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Are there any other questions from our participants just before we bring it to a close? Any last burning questions? Awesome. Okay. Yes, Esther, you can unmute. You can, unmute, or were you just saying thumbs up? Esther? Maybe you're typing. Actually, as Zimi, did you have, I think you wanted to add a bit.
Okay, I'll just a little bit to what he said, what Casey just said. Investing in Nigeria right now is not well, I wouldn't say it's a complete waste of time and a complete bad idea, because despite the problem and the situation in the country right now, people still run legitimate, proper businesses that still earn them proper living and a proper income. So it's just down to your capital, because the problem right from time in Nigeria has been having the right amount of capital to invest in whatever business it is you want to start. Because you wouldn't want to start something, and you want to start something in this country. Trust me, this country is the last place to start a business and be hopeful of growing over time. with what you get. I don't know if you understand what I don't know if you understood that. Like, you will need to have enough capital to set up the business, whatever it is whatsoever. I mean, you need to have enough capital, more than enough, to set it up to a standard level. Once you've done that, once you have enough money to do that, then you're good to go. Well, there are a few good things about Nigeria. Well, it gives room for private business owners and investors and entrepreneurs to thrive. It actually gives room for them to thrive, because the government doesn't come after you. Again, you don't get to pay tax. Like, if you're a private entrepreneur, unless you have your company registered, let's say you want to run a multinational company, then you have to pay tax. But if you just running, let's say you just want to set up a business, you want to set up a business like an agricultural business, for instance, an agricultural investment, or whatever it is you want to set up, so long as it's not international, multinational, something that will require the government's, something that brings in too many millions at a time, you're good to go. Like, you have no problem at all. The government doesn't disturb you. You have no problem at all. All you need to do is have enough capital for that. That's all.
So essentially,
so it's a good idea.
You're saying essentially that only perhaps investing in a private sector.
Yes, exactly. Investing in the private sector in the country is totally okay. It's completely okay.
Okay.
It's completely okay to do that.
Okay, thank you. And as I just reading Esther, your question here, is there anything we can do to help? I guess what's been mentioned, advocate or us protesting in our different ways, whether online or arranging protest in person, to create that awareness for our government in diaspora or whatever country we're in. And yeah, I think that the main things that were said by the panelists was protesting, continuing or starting protests here, online and physical protest, and creating that awareness so that they will have that global support or knowledge that they're backed from a bigger global community outside of Nigeria. But yeah, so I hope that helps, Esther. Thank you everyone again so much for joining and for being here. I hope it has helped, and I hope we have all taken away more. I hope we are more informed and knowledgeable about the situation. And thank you once again to our guest speakers for your time and for all your words and wisdom. Zimi, special thank you for joining in from Enugu, and Mrs. Chinwe, and also Mr. Casey and Mr. Iwunze, and to all our guests as well. So yeah, this is recorded. If anyone wants to maybe listen to this again or share on the recording to someone who's not able to make it, please let me know, and I'll more than happy to arrange for that to be emailed through. But yeah, I think we will leave it there. Thank you for staying on with us, and enjoy the rest of your evening. And as we will say, kachifonu.